Hey guys, and welcome to another video on my channel. Today I want to talk about solo traveling and how to travel on a budget. So if you're interested in that, then please keep on watching. So the most important part about traveling is to find a cheap place to stay, a cheap flight or a cheap train or a bus, whatever, and how to spend your money there, the place you're staying. So let's start with hotels, hostels, and so on. Hotels were never really for me because hotels are incredibly expensive and even more expensive if you are a solo traveler, so I skipped that. I also never really liked hostels because, well, simply because I don't really like staying with people I don't know, and I don't really feel secure. I mean, you can lock your stuff away, but you don't have a room of your own. So yeah, the only advantage I guess is that you're staying right in the capital and it's not that expensive. I think you pay about from 10 to 20 euros a night, but yeah, it's not really for me. So what I always do is I go on Airbnb.com and I basically book my room there. So if you don't know what Airbnb is, people just offer the flat, well, their whole flat, a room or something like that for travelers. So the good thing about Airbnb is that it's really secure. If you have any problems with your host, you can always contact Airbnb, because actually when you book your holidays, you always pay a certain fee. It's quite an insurance, and yeah, so if anything ever happens, you can get help immediately, which is pretty good. The thing I love about Airbnb is that you can really interact with the locals. For example, I remember that when I first used Airbnb, I went to London and sometimes I didn't really know what to do, and my host just told me about certain places to go to, and yeah, we just had a lovely time. And when I went to Ireland, I stayed in an Irish family, and I remember the evening I arrived, I came pretty late, so I didn't really know what to do that day, so I decided just to stay at home and wait for the next day. And in the evening the host came to me and we just had a cup of tea in the kitchen, and he told me some stories about Irish history, which was really cool. So yeah, I just love interacting with the locals, and that's basically why I love Airbnb so much. Of course, you can have bad experiences as well. So one time I didn't really get along with the people, and another time I didn't really like the place I was staying, but you can't always be lucky, right? So but mostly, yeah, I just love Airbnb. So if you're actually interested in Airbnb, you're very welcome to register. I'll leave the link in the description. And if you decide to book your holidays there, you actually get 30 euros off, or £30, $30, and so on. So that is pretty cool. You can use that link down below. And take note, this video is not sponsored. I'm just talking about my personal experiences, and if I can help you out, then yeah, I gladly do that. So the next thing is, how do I actually get to the place I'm staying? So you really have to consider what's the best thing for you. I can tell you that flying is not always the cheapest option, because I personally, when I travel to London, I often go by bus, simply because it costs about 20 euros for each ride. So I don't know, 40, 35 euros, well, it depends, but yeah, you can get for that much money to London from Cologne. And the good thing is that luggage is actually included, which you don't have when you're flying. You have to pay separately if you're actually flying somewhere for huge luggage, and that's completely for free when you're traveling by bus or by train. So I personally really like traveling by bus. Of course, it depends on where you're going. If you're traveling for 20 hours or more, I don't really know if it's worth it. But for example, going from Cologne to London takes, I think, 10 or 12 hours by bus. You basically the depart at 9 in the evening and arrive at 6 or 7 in the morning, which is pretty cool because you basically, well, you can just sleep all night and the next morning you're in London. So if you actually want to fly and yeah, taking a bus doesn't work, you have to book very, very early. That's what I noticed. So if you're traveling in, I don't know, in summer, somewhere between June, July and September, you really have to book early because it's the main season for traveling. So that's why it's important to book early. So I'd suggest in January the latest, better even earlier. For example, Ryanair sometimes has certain discounts. They offer flights for half the price or for only 20 or 30 euros, but you have to take care because sometimes the return flight is just twice as expensive and you really have to evaluate if it's worth it. So always book early, but yeah, there could be some offers. For example, I think in October or November, Ryanair had a special offer and they had certain flights for 10 euros. So I basically went to, as you already know, I went to Scotland in February and I paid 20 euros for a return flight, which is just incredible. I mean, it's, I don't know, 1,200 kilometers or something like that. It's so far away and I only paid 20 euros without luggage, of course, but you know, I could take my hand luggage. You really have to think if you need luggage. I'd say if you're traveling at least 3 weeks, it's better to have something with you, or 2 or 3 weeks. It also depends if you're traveling in summer or in winter, because in winter you obviously take more jumpers with you, which weighs a lot more. So yeah, you really have to evaluate. Yeah, but otherwise, if you're only going on a short trip, it's always worth it to just take your hand luggage because it's up to 10 kilos. And I mean, what else do you need in just a week? There are also, if you want to get a cheap flight, there is a website called skyscanner.com. So the website basically can find you the cheapest flight. Also, indirect flights are much cheaper, so if you have to stop somewhere, it can be hundreds of euros cheaper than to have a direct flight. Of course, it depends. If you're going overseas, it's actually worth it. If you're traveling inside of Europe, not so much. If you were so lucky to get a cheap hotel or a place to stay, so if you're lucky to get a cheap flight, a cheap place to stay, you just have to think about how you want to spend your money. Yeah, in the country you're staying, you actually already saved a lot, so you can spend a bit more there, which is always cool. But there is still some tips how you can, yeah, save your money. So what I really like actually is to go to supermarkets in different countries, because I just want to know, well, it always differs, right? And I just want to know what the local, I don't know, what the local food is. You don't always have to have dinner or lunch somewhere or have to eat something fancy, so you can always make something for yourself. I mean, when I travel, of course, I go to restaurants a lot, but I mostly go during lunch because it's cheaper, and in the evening I just go back home and eat something there. And if you're actually going to restaurants, you should also keep in mind that the restaurants right next to the main shopping streets, and yeah, I don't know, the high streets are more expensive than restaurants in a side road, or I don't know, in the outskirts. I personally don't buy my family or friends anything when I travel. I don't know if I'm old-fashioned, but I think it's enough if you send someone a postcard. I think that's much better than just sending pictures on WhatsApp or something like that. And yeah, what I like to do, for example, in Scotland, I went on a whiskey tour, and there you could buy very small bottles of whiskey. So that's, for example, a nice gift you could bring your parents or your friends, your family, whatever. And yeah, I think that's much better than to buy them, I don't know, a small Big Ben or something like that. I think that's just stuff that stands around, and I don't really think that's a good thing to buy, and it's very expensive. That's the second point. So basically, if you're traveling from city to city, you should also travel by bus because it's a lot cheaper. Well, trains can be cheap as well, but only if you book very early. If you just want to go on a spontaneous trip, trains or train tickets are going to be so expensive, so I wouldn't do that. That's no. It's so much cheaper if you can actually use the card and travel as much as you want for a week than to really pay for every single journey. So yeah, I would recommend get one of those travel cards. They will save you so much money. And if you can, try to get a weekly ticket or something like that that allows you to travel as much as you want in a certain time frame. Another thing is, especially in the UK and in Ireland, in Germany not so much, you can have student discounts. So basically everywhere where they charge for entry, they have a special price for students. So if you have a valid student ID card, then I would recommend to show them, and you can always spend, or I mean, you can always save up to 5 or 6 euros. I mean, when I last traveled, I think I saved about 50 or 60 euros just by showing my student ID. So yeah, that is so good. Also, if you're not a student, it's always worth it to pre-order your tickets. So if you know you want to go to a certain place at a certain time, you have to book it early. And if you do, you can actually save up to 10%. So that is actually quite good, and you don't have to worry about getting in the day you're arriving. So something I would never do again is to exchange your currency in the country you're living, because they are charging you so much. What's much cheaper is to actually, if you have a MasterCard, a Visa, something like that, you can just look for a cash machine at the airport and withdraw your money there. Yeah, the charges are much lower, and actually you don't need that money before leaving the airport. So if you're getting your money right at the airport, it should be fine. So these are my tips. I hope they help you. At least they helped me a lot when I traveled. I saved quite a lot of money, and yeah, being a student, it's not always easy to travel abroad and to live on a budget. So yeah, I hope this video helped you. If you have any other tips, yeah, please let me know, because I'm sure there is still a lot I have to learn. I hope I could teach you something as well. And if you want to watch more videos like that in the future, then please let me know. Also, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and yeah, just thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye guys!